Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Better Basics Podcast, the realest fitness podcast on the planet. I'm Matt Stone, and as always, I have with me my best friend and co-host. It's Dylan Waldhuter. Dylan, great to see you as always, my friend. How's your week going?
Really good. Yeah, not very eventful, but good.
Well, I
How about
mean,
you?
that's good. I mean, quiet's good. We don't always need to have so much excitement going on. And if you are taking our advice from last week's podcast, you're disconnecting a little bit and doing that hard thing by chilling a little bit. So have you chilled?
I've chilled. I'm reading a book.
Okay,
I've been
cool.
spending a lot of time reading a book. It's kind of boring.
What are you reading?
I'm reading Blue Horizon.
Is that a
It's a fiction story. It takes place in like the 1700s Africa, and it's about like Dutch colonization. And
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it's boring. It's getting better, but it's a denser read than what I'd read previously. So
Yeah, I mean, learning about the Dutch invasion of Africa is a pretty heavy topic.
there's a good story to it, though, and there's some adventure that's unraveling. I'm only 80 pages in, and it's a 600-plus page book, so
That's
I
always
should
tough.
reserve judgment.
Yeah, but it's tough. I'm not a judge a book by its cover guy. Which you are.
I am, and this is the worst. This is the worst cover of all time.
Okay.
It's the worst, dude. It sat on the shelf for a friend recommended it. It sat there forever because the cover is just like blue and has like this bad compass drawing on it.
Okay. So but again, you judged the book, and it's so far it's
That might
working
be
out.
true. Yeah.
I'm a judge a book by like the opening page guy. If the first page doesn't have me gripped, we've got some serious issues. Yeah.
Are you reading anything?
In my classic fashion, I'm reading three things right now.
That's sociopath stuff.
Well,
dude.
so I've got my main fiction read. I've gotten obsessed with the fantasy author Brandon Sanderson. He's got so many. If you're ready to get into like high fantasy, like some serious magic shit, I've been texting our buddy Kaz about it. Because it's some real dorky fantasy.
Yeah, but there's probably like some fairies having sex with dragons or something.
See, this is not like ACOTAR Fourth Wing, which I read Fourth Wing.
Yeah, you
Actually, well, yeah. So, but this is different than that. It is more about. There's not time for sexual tension in these stories.
Okay.
But then I'm also reading. I always like to read a nonfiction, so I'm rereading Carol Dweck's Mindset, which is like the first self-help book I ever read. We did a podcast on like our favorite like self-help books or like books we recommend, and that was like the first one. So I'm rereading that. And then I got my hands on history, Howard Zinn's history of a people's history of the United States. Basically, it's telling the unadulterated truth about American history. So basically, not mincing words when it comes to the founding fathers, and especially going in on Columbus. Basically, just saying yes, we can't you can't judge them through the lens of today, but we can still talk about how fucked up what they were doing was. So
Right.
A little bit of everything. But yeah, I mean, as someone, we talked about last week how we want to try and be more present, and it seems like, and look, obviously we are on a podcast currently. I listen to podcasts every day. We watch TV, but consuming media just gets easier and easier. And like books were kind of like the last one where you really had to like pay attention. Like you really have to actively pay attention to consume it. And I just love it. I think that I think it's a skill, and I think it's a muscle that like is really important that you work out.
It really does help with that presence. It's a more intentional experience than just
Yes.
sitting on the couch and vegging out. And I sleep better. I've got this weird conspiracy theory in my brain right now. My kid was sick and Courtney got the cold, and every other cold this kid's got, I've gotten too. And I didn't get this cold. And part of me feels like it's because I'm not watching TV and I'm reading books and I'm sleeping well.
Well, but you're doing it. It's the timing too, right? Though, because like that's part of your nighttime routine now is winding down less screens right before bed.
Yep.
And there really is something to that with the setting your circadian rhythm and, everything, just getting your body ready for a restful night's sleep, which, as we know, huge for, the immune system and the lymphatic systems, keeping you healthy. So who knows? Maybe there is something to it.
Yeah. And I never had problems like falling asleep or staying asleep, but that doesn't mean that the quality of sleep was great.
For sure.
And it's a difficult thing to measure, but my subjective kind of data points in this are they're promising. So I'm going to stick with it. I feel good doing it.
One of those things where at the end of the day you feel good doing it. So no matter what the truth is as to why, it's kind of secondary.
That's what matters. You bet.
Exactly. All right, let's get into the segments. The very first one we have for you today is the hot topic. This comes from another one of our future friends, Jordan Syatt, who is absolutely one of my favorite fitness influencers out there right now. Jordan responded to a video clip from, I don't know what it's called, but it's Mel Robbins' podcast. I don't know if it's called the Mel Robbins podcast. Dylan?
I'm not sure. She is blowing up.
Oh, she's massive. I mean,
I think it's one of the top 5 podcasts out there right now.
Yeah, she's huge. Her book, Let Them, has just taken the self-help community by storm. I haven't read it. I don't think you have either.
No.
Yeah. So it's but the clip from the podcast, she has a nutrition expert on, and basically talking about the dangers of women. Well, I mean, in the broader conversation is the dangers of women eating and training with like a man, like guys do, on having female-centered, nutrition advice and strength training advice. But most specifically, the clip that Jordan responded to was in regards to fasted workouts, which has been a very popular topic of conversation for some time. A lot of people like it. But basically, this person was saying that no woman should work out fasted, that it's bad for them.
Yeah, the question Mel asked was, and I think the question itself is relevant because it's sort of sensational in nature. She asks, what's the most common mistake women make from following male-centric fitness advice?
Mm-hmm.
So she sets this person up to sort of provide a very black and white answer to a question that comes with quite a bit of nuance. And the person answering the question is a quote-unquote expert. She's Dr. Stacy Sims. She's a PhD in exercise physiology and nutrition science. So anybody watching or listening to this is going to, one, have a ton of respect for Mel, which she probably deserves. She's very successful. She's very smart. She's written a book that's very popular. And an expert who has all of the credentials to suggest that the answer she's giving is the correct one. And as you noted, she says women's bodies don't respond well to fasted training. But what really bothers me is then Mel goes on to state, so every woman listening, and this is a quote, I wrote this down because I think it's important. Mel says, so every woman listening, every woman in your life needs to know that one of the biggest mistakes we are making by following male-centric fitness advice is we need, as women, biologically and physiologically speaking, to actually have something to eat first thing when we get up. And the Dr. Stacy Sims replies, yes.
Jesus.
Oh. And there are all sorts of problems with this. The first of which being it's just not true. There is not a single study out there. I scoured the internet that shows that fasted exercise is more detrimental to women than men. So it's not a true thing. But the bigger problem in this, and where I think we should have a little bit of a conversation, is around the fact that Mel, on her podcast previously, had somebody else that's an expert share and advise that women work out fasted to help balance their hormones. And so what's starting to occur here in this podcast space is you have really smart people that are creating these podcasts where they're interviewing experts in areas where they have limited to no expertise. And as a result, they do a really poor job of filtering through the truth. So they're just providing a platform for sensational claims that generate these types of clips that gain a ton of attention and get in front of women and people and just create all sorts of misinformation and confusion. And then people act on them because they trust the expert and they trust the podcaster. And so I think this is a huge problem. This is generating a lot of this confusion in the fitness space. And that's sort of the ethos, the genesis of our podcast, was to look through all of this stuff, filter through it, and get down to the nuance. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this doesn't need to be so black and white nor so complicated. The answer to the question for women or men with regards to whether you should train fasted or not, and we've talked about this, is whether it works well for you or not.
Yeah.
It's individual. There is no right or wrong answer in this.
Yes.
Try both, see what feels good, and do that.
Yeah, and women do need to be a little bit more cautious about this simply because how fasting can affect their hormone levels. But there is nothing, as you said, there's no study out there that shows that this statement is correct. The fact of the matter is there are going to be women that don't respond well to fasted workouts. There are going to be men that don't respond well to fasted workouts. But as Jordan does, he does such a wonderful job because, of course, the initial complaint with this conversation even is going to be, well, your guys, you have no basis, a frame of reference here. You don't get it. He went into the comments section of this video and found, a dozen different comments from women saying, I work out this way and I feel great. I love the way that I feel after a fasted workout. I've been doing it for years and have had so much success with it. And the fact of the matter here is exactly your point, Dylan, which is that you got to try it out and see for yourself. And, the problem here is that everybody is obsessed with going viral. Everybody wants the clip that gets, the millions of views. And you do that by making bold and controversial statements. By making absolutist statements. But I think the easiest way to figure out whether or not something is true on the internet is if somebody says things like an absolutist statement. If there is an all or never or must, if anybody's going to tell you that they've got it all figured out, and the thing that what was it, the thing that is disrupting women's health, more than anything, whatever Mel said it to set the question up, it's just it's one of those things that is causing a huge problem in the space, especially when you have somebody that is supposed to be so credible, someone that has won over so much good favor with her audience, and then blatantly disregards that by having contradictory guests on to say opposite things without a single follow-up on either side. And it just leaves people confused and not knowing what to do, and it really sucks.
It does suck. I will say, Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of a CEO, he will intentionally bring on people that have different opinions, but he will bring up the fact that somebody 3 weeks ago told him something different and then let that person respond to it. I think he does a he's quickly becoming my favorite podcast because similar to Rogan, he provides a platform for all different perspectives but I think he does a really good job of balancing the differing kind of viewpoints and opinions and different expert kind of opinions on things. As it relates to this conversation, I do want to note something you said is true, right? Like, there are a lot of women out there who will not respond well to fasted training because of its impacts on hormone balance. There are also women out there who will respond better to fasted training because of its impacts on hormone balance.
Right.
This hormone conversation that's going on in the fitness space, wellness space, is been made into this certain black and white, absolutist, to your point, conversation. And if there is one thing that's more difficult to study and understand than anything else, it is hormones. Like, they are so incredibly individual, and there are certainly some gender specific differences in the way that our hormones work. That's obvious, right? Even just basic ones like testosterone. But there is no certain truth in this. So at the end of the day, do what works well for you. Listen to your body and be responsive to that, instead of taking these pieces of information as single sources of the truth and letting that become your dogma.
Yeah, we're not endocrinologists, and I don't intend to be one. And unless somebody is, they are not an expert on hormones. And even the interesting thing is, and even an endocrinologist is just going to know how it works for the general population. Everybody is different. There are always outliers. There are always people that are against the trend or against the majority, and so you owe it to yourself to try out these things, not because and not be afraid of it because your favorite podcast host told you that it was gonna it was gonna be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So just be careful out there, stay away from the absolutes, and come to this podcast for the middle ground, because that's what we're here for. All right, let's move on to Worth It. This week we have got we've got fancy mac and cheese, I guess, is is basically what we're talking about. The Goodles, is that the trendy one right now? Goodles.
I think it's just Goodles, yeah.
But I like Goodles. It sounds like noodles then.
Oh, fair. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I was thinking like good.
Well, no,
you're right.
Noodles. But it's spelled Goodles.
Which could be good or good.
Or Goodles. Yeah. So Goodles, or like there's other ones like Banza. There's a few different. That one is chickpea specifically. I actually don't even know. Is Goodles or Goodles also chickpea, or do they have a lentil one? But we're basically talking about alternatives to Kraft mac and cheese. Now, these things have taken the world by storm. One, because people love mac and cheese. It's the best. And we are also living in a protein-obsessed environment where everything has to be high protein. And so we're taking your noodles and we're making them high protein. One thing that I like about these types of alternatives is not so much the protein. I mean, I guess like I've made my stance clear. I think that we do live in a protein obsessed space right now. And so I think less important for me is the grams of protein. The thing that I like about it is the fiber and the nutrient variability, because these are some grains and legumes that we aren't normally getting on a regular basis. We get plenty of wheat, we get plenty of regular flour. So I like it for the diversity factor. I also think they taste pretty good.
Yeah, they taste really good. I'm a big fan of these. I want to quickly go through kind of the cost benefit.
Well, yeah, that's the
versus like that's the whole kind of linchpin in all of this. So Kraft mac and cheese is as inexpensive as a food item as you're going to find on the shelf of the grocery store. You can get Kraft is like $1.29. I'm sure you can get like a Roundy's brand or a Kroger brand for 99 cents. I looked up the nutrition facts on these different things. And so what I'm going to share here is the as prepared, meaning however they're recommending you make it with the milk and the butter or without butter, for the entire box. So some of these boxes are like 3 servings, some are 2.5, some are 2. If you're like me, you eat the whole box when you make a box of mac and cheese. So
Single
I'm going to share
serving for sure.
the whole box, calories, protein, and fiber, to your point, because I think the fiber is what's really interesting with this. We don't get nearly enough fiber, and it's difficult to get quality fiber from packaged processed foods. So Kraft is only $1.29. It's got 875 calories per box with 30 grams of protein and 3 grams of fiber. So that's sort of our baseline. Goodles is a little more, or Goodles is a little more expensive. It's $2.99 a box. So it's, 2.5, 3 times more than your box of Kraft, but still not wildly expensive. It's got 675 calories, 37.5 grams of protein, and 15 grams of fiber. So it's only got 7.5 more grams of protein than your Kraft mac and cheese, but it's got 5 times the amount of fiber in it, which is
and
incredible.
Right there. So when what you said was what was like 600 some calories for 30 some odd grams of protein, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing is you're going to see on these boxes like high in protein or whatever. Like as far as our protein metrics are concerned, which you're looking for about 10 grams of protein per 100 calories is like a rough way to kind of look at it. Like this is not something that you would look at like, oh, I have a high protein meal now, if that was what you were eating. But you have something that is a little higher in protein, but as you said, way higher in fiber.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although I would say, if you're eating just a box of mac and cheese for a meal, right? Like the 1-to-10 ratio we're looking for in our protein source. But this is coming with that fiber and with the, satiety of an entire meal.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get, almost 40 grams of protein in a meal for almost 700 calories, if you're, eating around 2,000, 2,100, 2,200 calories a day.
Not bad.
A third of your day of eating. It's a pretty quality protein dense meal.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Like if you're looking at it as additional protein on top of your other calories, then you're right. It's not like a good protein addition to the other calories you're already eating. But as a meal unto itself, I do think it is a pretty good place to go for a higher protein alternative to mac and cheese. Banza's $3.39 a box. So it's a little more expensive, but it's only 580 calories. It has 36 grams of protein and 10 grams of fiber. So still 3 times more fiber than the Kraft, a little bit less than the Goodles. So I think they're really good options. Like the cost here is a little bit more for sure. Again, I don't know if I love it as like a high protein snack on top of the meals you're already eating. But as quick meal unto itself, or if you want to share the box and supplement it with something else, some veggies, maybe a little lean protein, it's a great option. It's a great healthier alternative to something like the Kraft mac and cheese. You can buy these things in bulk too. Costco typically has them. They get a little bit less expensive, and you can have a whole bunch of them in the pantry with a long shelf life to grab a healthy option when you're in a pinch.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And this is, one of those things where it kind of gets like put into the category of like a health food. But really like it doesn't need that like health halo for you to diversify your grains, to look for alternative sources. That's just a way to add more variety to your diet. So I like it to have it around. We were not in mac and cheese on a weekly basis phase right now. Haven't been for quite some time. But, we will every once in a while if we're just looking for a quick dinner, don't have a whole lot, planned or don't really feel like making anything. going to the store and grabbing a box of mac and cheese, or a couple, for honestly, is something that we do every once in a while, and I do like to look for these alternative options for that. So if it's something, if you're eating mac and cheese all the time, I would just recommend mixing it in, like you said, put it on the shelf. It's not like it's going to go bad, but totally understand why at double the price of your standard craft, which we can all agree is delicious as is, why that might not be realistic for everybody.
Really good option for kids too. Like my
Yeah.
kid loves it, and you're gonna get more of that legume. Both Goodles, and Banza, I don't know what to say now, are chickpea based. I will note that I was influenced on Instagram the other day. There's this new high protein mac and cheese that's been getting advertised to me, and it's called Kaizen.
Okay.
And it uses a lupini bean instead of a chickpea. And this box of mac and cheese has 675 calories, 62 and a half grams of protein, and 37 and a half grams of fiber.
What? There's no way that tastes good.
Which is more than you should probably eat in a day. You're going to be backed up if you eat that much fiber in one meal.
That's wild.
So I was like, this is interesting. I want to try this. So I looked it up. Guess how much a box of this costs?
$9.
$10.
No freaking way.
I will not be trying it. You've got to be absolutely kidding. That is not the point of mac and cheese.
Exactly.
If I'm making $10 mac and cheese, I'm going and I'm buying some aged Gouda, some good cheddar. I'm making a roux. I'm getting some good noodles. I'm baking that shit in the oven.
Facts.
That is off the deep end. So for me, Kaizen's the line, but the Goodles and the Banza, I'm a big fan of, and I think are absolutely worth it.
I love it. All right, let's transition to the main course. Wait, yes, we're ready for it. It's time for the main course. This is a fun one. We were texting back and forth trying to figure out the topic for this week, and you hit me with. What about building your ideal at-home gym setup for under $1,000? So that's what we're here to do today. We've both been tasked. We've been given $1,000 cash, and we have come ready with our Amazon. Mine's all on Amazon. I don't know how your cart came, but mine is all ready to go in Amazon to tell you guys what we would do if we're building our at-home gyms from scratch.
Yeah, so this is a really important topic for me because when I talk to family and friends that have difficulty with their fitness, a lot of times it just comes down to figuring out how to build the consistent habit. And the most common resistance that gets in the way of them doing that is time. And in that time equation is the time to go to the gym and to get home from the gym. For most people, it's a 10-minute drive at least there, and it's a 10-minute drive home. That's 20 minutes of your day. So how do we get that time back? How do we make it as accessible and easy to achieve as possible so that we can build the consistency and develop a sustainable habit that serves us for the rest of our life? So we're going to give this some sensational title like spend $1,000 or less, because we'll talk through some of that, to get and stay fit forever. Because we've talked time and time again about how it's not about some 1 month, 3 month, 6 month long goal. It's about figuring out how to build these habits for a lifetime of fitness and health. There's a couple notes I want to make up front before we get into our lists. One is GarageGymReviews.com. If you're serious about building a home gym,
great website.
Is a fantastic resource. This guy tries everything and reviews it and provides, I'm sure he's got affiliate codes and whatnot built in there, so we're giving him some free advertising here, but that's a really good place to go look as we talk through some of the things that we're going to put in our home gyms. You could go over there. We'll give you our recommendation, but there, if you're willing to spend a little more or want to go even more budget, he'll have some options for you over there. The other thing I'll note is when it comes to fitness equipment, check Marketplace or check like your Craigslist or whatever, because people get rid of this stuff all the time. You can get it secondhand. a lot of this stuff is built to last a lifetime, and you can find it really cost effectively there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. I think, we went with just for our sake, we went with getting everything new.
Yeah.
But you're right. That would be the very first place that I would start. Take this list or these lists and start, with your Facebook Marketplace, check eBay. There's all kinds of barely touched fitness equipment sitting in garages and basements that are ripe for the taking, especially now with spring coming up here. Everybody's doing their spring cleaning. There's going to be a lot out there. So I'm curious still, and I want to know before you get started, how many total items do you have and what your total cost is? I can go first. I got mine right here. So all told, I have 8 separate items that you'd be purchasing for a grand total of $996.87.
Wow. I don't have it down to the cent. I rounded everything up.
Okay, this is just what my Amazon cart's telling me.
Oh, you're straight up in Amazon.
Yeah.
Most of mine are in Amazon as well. I have eight items as well.
No way. Okay.
Yeah. Totaling $993.
Oh, wow. So we're close. Yeah. It would be so close. Funny. We did not compare lists. It'd be so funny if we had the exact same, just to the T.
I feel like up front, our kind of top tier stuff is going to be pretty similar. But after that, I'm kind of intrigued to see where you go. And related to that, I think the other point I wanted to make is when you're building out a home gym and home gym equipment, maybe you're saying to yourself, I don't have $1,000 to spend right now. Consider scalability. Like, think about, we'll talk through this as we go through our lists, but when you're buying things, consider how you can scale that up into more. And we'll give I will give good examples of maybe how some of that plays, because I considered that quite a bit in how I built out my sub $1,000 home gym.
Yeah. So one challenge that I found before we get started with the list here, obviously, I'm a big guy. I'm like, 230, like float between 230, 240 right now, lift pretty heavy. And so, I was honest with this, where this was not just for, this was home gym stuff that I would use, like that, big fellas, strong guys can use too, because obviously, as it gets time to, looking at the price for heavy weights, it gets more expensive the heavier you get. But this just goes to show it's not like you're going to be stuck with just some 25-pound dumbbells. You can have a serious home gym, and we'll get into to what those items are. So let's start with like what we would call like our essential, like the top tier. Starting square one, where are we going first? I know it's really, for me, there's 2 items on my list that are head and shoulders above everything else.
Yeah, for me, it's really just one.
Okay.
And from there we can scale up. But for me, it's the adjustable dumbbell.
Fact.
And to the point I made about scalability, and to the point you made about ensuring that, as you get stronger, you've got enough weight there. I looked through some different adjustable dumbbell options, but wanted to find something that went pretty high in weight, because you can find some pretty cost-effective adjustable dumbbells that'll go up to 35, 45 pounds. But again, if this is going to be a lifetime sustainable journey, 10 years from now, you could need a lot more than that, and hopefully you only have to buy these once. So I found very highly reviewed. I haven't used these myself, but I read through the reviews thoroughly to ensure that people review them highly. These are the Ativa Fit adjustable dumbbells. They go up to 88 pounds, and they are $570. Now, what I will say is I did find adjustable dumbbells from a company called Flybird that were highly recommended. They only go up to 55 pounds, but those could probably work for some people, and those were only $312. And I also want to note that I personally am a huge fan of the SmartFit Nuobells. They go up to 80 pounds. Those are more expensive. They're $745. But what I really like about those is they offer 0% financing, and you can pay for them monthly at $68 a month. So if you're a person who's got a gym membership burning a hole in your pocket and you're not showing up that frequently, a great way to maybe leverage that monthly expense to the gym is to put it into a monthly payment to adjustable dumbbells and give Matt and I a call and get a dumbbell only program.
Yeah.
And we can get you set up to ensure that you're actually making use of what you're spending. So for me, it's the adjustable dumbbell. And I'll note we'll link to all these and provide our lists in the show notes and on thebasictrainer.com, so you have access to this as well. But it's the Ativa Fit. For the purposes of my $1,000 home gym, I'm going with the maximum weight, highly reviewed Ativa Fit 88-pound adjustable dumbbells.
Yeah, 88 pounds is nice. It's nice. But sometimes I really just need a little bit more. I found the Power Block that I actually own a similar set. The Power Block Elite 90-pound adjustable dumbbells. The beautiful thing about these bells is they go up and down in 2.5-pound increments. So you have a ton of flexibility with them, a ton of flexibility. I have not found a easier changing system way to change weights than the Power Block. They make it super easy. These ones are expensive, $775, 36 cents. But I own Power Blocks. I love them. So I have to back them. Like you said, Dylan, for a lot of people, for the majority of people, if you could find something that goes up to 60 pounds, 50, 60 pounds, you're going to be fine. We're training at home. There's a lot of ways that you can manipulate load as far as, tempo and, isometric holds and all that stuff that you can do to, make that lighter weight feel heavy. But for transparency's sake, I knew that I wanted something that'd go a little bit heavier. So, yeah, I went with the Power Blocks. You said that was really the only thing in your top tier. I hear what you're saying, but I would, for me, the other thing that I'm going to put up there, because I've trained without one of these before, and I think it gives you so much more flexibility with exercise options, and that's a solid adjustable bench. I'm sure you have one on your list. Is that
it's next on my list.
Yeah.
I think you have to have the adjustable dumbbells. You can do most of what you need to without that bench, but the next thing I'm buying,
sure, 1A, 1B.
Is that adjustable bench, yes.
Yeah, and I found one here pretty highly rated as well, the Techlore Weight Bench Adjustable Strength Training for $71.99 on Amazon. The one thing that I like about that, besides it's got a bunch of different weight settings or height settings, which is good, it also has foot and knee pads on there, so you can actually flip around and lock your feet in, so you can do row variations on the backside too, which I think is really, really nice. But yeah, I mean, if you want to train serious at home, you are going to need that adjustable bench. You can do a lot standing. You can even do stuff like floor presses, like glute bridge floor presses, stuff like that. But really, to get serious, an adjustable bench is going to be everything you need to take your training to the next level.
Yeah, 100% agree. I suppose it almost is table stakes here, but you can get away without it. And in the interest of scalability, I agree. It's the next thing I would buy, absolutely, hands down. I went with the top tent on Amazon. It was $80, so we'll have to compare. If yours is just as good for $9 less, we'll make that the official recommendation of the Better Basics podcast.
Perfect.
But yeah, you're going to be able to get much better range of motion out of your press work versus doing it just on the floor. You'll be able to use that incline to do incline type press work. There's just so much you can do with it, from dumbbell pullovers to fly variations to
Bulgarian split squats, step ups, incline, decline pressing. It's just one of those things that for under $100, you can make your dumbbells so much more effective by just spending $80 more bucks. So I do think that it is important, and I will say that I did look at reviews on this bench, but that's it. I do think that it is important to make sure that you do that, and we'll have to vet these. We might have to do a little bit more research on these, but you do want to make sure that something like a bench is sturdy enough for you, because if it's just a cheap one that is going to be flimsy and not provide a lot of support, that's you need something that's going to actually like hold up to some actual weightlifting.
Yeah, I agree. The one I have in my home gym was inexpensive from Amazon. I couldn't find that one exactly. I bought it years ago. But yeah, that we have the luxury of reviews, read the reviews, and we have the luxury of Amazon, where if it's not working out or it isn't what you expected, you can return it for free. So I got a feeling our next one's going to be the same as well, but we'll see. Where'd you go?
Well, so I guess the next one for me. Next one, yeah. The next tier has to be a pull-up bar of some sort. For me, it's just like the classic Gold's Gym doorway pull-up bar.
Yeah, I also have the pull-up bar next. I went with the J-Fit. What I like about the J-Fit,
those are the handles, right?
They're not handles. It's just it'll fit in any doorway.
Yeah.
So I had the Gold's Gym one. I had an older house, and it didn't fit in that doorway. So this J-Fit one will fit in any doorway. I own this one. It works great. My brother owns it. He's way bigger than I am. He's like 260 pounds. Holds his weight no problem. So I recommend it highly. It's $33. I will say here, so I texted you earlier. I was at $1,030, and I had to go back to just the pull-up bar, because what I really wanted to get was just a simple power tower. Because what that was going to give us was a dip setup as well.
Would have been huge.
And I love the pull-up and the dip. So I found a Zenova power tower for $70. We'll include it in the list if you want to spend a little bit more. It's an option. But I love pull-up and dip work. And so to have tools that can provide that for you are great. I do think the pull-up is more important than the dip. So I went with the pull-up bar.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about a dip bar for a home gym setup. It's just something that I just wasn't even on my radar. I love dips. I do them at least once a week. They're one of my favorite exercises by far. So yeah, I would take the $30 upgrade to make that happen. But yeah, I mean, as far as pull-ups go, it's the elite, upper body back workout. There is nothing better than it. You can also do, depending on like the height of your doorway, you can do some hanging core work with it. But the other thing that I like, especially, just in the doorway, I'm a tall guy. I can't do a fully hanging pull up. I have to have my knees either forward or back, but you can get a really great stretch on a doorway pull up bar too. Just like having your feet on the ground and just dropping down into them, you can really get a lot of, it's like that same spinal decompression that you get from like an inversion table without having to use an inversion table. So, I think the doorway pull-up bar, or I guess pull-up bar in general is definitely going to be one of those top tier. Next for me, I've got, this was something that I knew it just should be a part of everybody's home gym. Not the sexiest purchase for me, but something I will put in, that upper echelon, and that's a lacrosse ball. I've talked about this a ton of times in the podcast. You got to make that mobility work a part of your daily practice. And a lacrosse ball, there's no easier way to get down and dirty with that mobility work. So I think the one that I found was like $6 for one. But I think you could get, I was really pinching pennies, but I think you can get two for like $7 or $8. So get, spend the extra dollar, get two. And there's just so much you can do with it. Do you have a lacrosse ball on your list?
I don't, but I have room for it in my budget, so maybe I'll add it.
There we go. Perfect. What's next for you?
I have the suspension trainer.
Oh, TRX straps.
Yeah, so mine are off-brand and very highly reviewed. They're less expensive than TRX. Actually, in my gym here, I have Olympic rings, which work
Mm-hmm.
essentially the same way. But a suspension trainer would be like your TRX, which has become very popular. These I found from Mulian, and they're $30. And lots of the reviews said just as good as TRX. So come highly reviewed, really inexpensive, and you can do so much with them. I've been working with them a ton in my training, doing a lot of back work, things like Y raises, things like face pulls with like a really good strong retraction and hold. We spend a lot of time sitting at desks with our shoulders rolled forward, so I've been doing a lot of work to kind of work on that shoulder mobility and shoulder retraction. You can use them for things like pistol squats, which I've been trying to do more kind of functional lower body work. So I've been doing that kind of stuff. There's just so much you can do. So I'm a big fan of them. They're really easy to implement into your home gym and really inexpensive for the value that you can get out of them.
Yeah, TRX straps didn't make it into my final list, but they're definitely on the honorable mention. One of those things that, like you said, you can do so much with it. It's great for full body strength training, really good for back and shoulder work, joint friendly. You know, it's also one of those things that you can travel with if you want. I mean, we're talking about the home gym specifically, but this is one of those things that you can throw into a suitcase or a duffel bag, bring on the road with you. Most TRX or, straps of that variety have like door anchors that you can use so that while you're on the go, you can still train with them. So yeah, I love them. I think that they're one of those things that when used properly, they can be a really, really nice addition. One thing that I had that was kind of in the same vein, I guess that would be like my alternative, was some resistance bands. So I've got a set here. It looks like there's 5 different resistance bands going from like pretty thick all the way down to pretty thin. For what, $27, $26.99. We've talked about how much we like resistance bands. We wrote an entire 12-week strength training program that uses exclusively resistance bands. I think they're a really great addition. I also like it for, when we think about scalability of a home gym, you can use resistance bands to make exercises heavier. If you aren't going to splurge on or easier, yeah, depending on which way exactly. But if you aren't going to splurge on the 88 or 90-pound dumbbells, and you want the $300 ones that go up to 50, you can use those bands to make that weight heavier. So I think that they're a great tool to have. Do you have TRX straps and resistance bands in your? No resistance
bands. Nope.
Yeah.
So this is where I think we're going to get a little weird and a little different.
I think now I would be, honestly, I would be shocked if we had anything similar the rest of the way through.
Next thing I have is a barbell.
See, I knew you were going to go barbell. I looked at it, I priced it out, but it did not. In the end, it didn't make the cut. How are you going to afford a barbell and weights?
Just listen.
Okay.
Just
all right.
Stay tuned.
I'm with you.
Don't sign off yet. So I found the Papa Babe, PAPABABE, the Papa Babe barbell. Actually, it's $80. I own this barbell. I can say it's great. I've owned it for 3 years. Hasn't let me down. Olympic barbell, 45 pounds. And I'm not gonna use it with a squat rack here because we only have $1,000 budget.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am going to get is a landmine attachment.
Oh.
And I got a landmine attachment here from HXD Ergo. That's $30 and just works on the floor with any given barbell. And I'm going to use that to do landmine type work. In the interest of scalability, I'm also going to have my barbell, should I decide someday that I do want to upgrade to a squat rack. I have what I need to do that. And I did find bumper plates. I'm going to get 100 pounds worth of bumper plates, 215s and 235s for $110 from Signature Fitness on Amazon. come highly reviewed. And then I'm going to get some, this actually rounds out my list, but it's all related, so I'll just go through the rest of it. And then I'm going to get some change weights from EGLES. So those are your 2.5 and 5 pound plates, so you can work in some increments, leveraging that landmine and that barbell, and those are $60, which gets me to my 993. So in my home gym, you've got a adjustable bench and your dumbbells, you've got your suspension trainers for more of that functional fitness work, and you've got a barbell and landmine attachment to do landmine work.
Yeah, I love it. I think that the landmine is a super underrated gym, accessory, and especially for a home gym too. It's it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's super. You just basically just can go in the corner of the room. But a landmine, man, you can just do so many good exercises. Everything from really like strict, high tension exercises to really explosive, powerful moves with it. You can do full body. I mean, you can do upper body, you can do lower body. One of my favorite core exercises is like a landmine, like rainbow rotation, where you keep the barbell like super far out and you just like, work from hip to hip.
Yep.
I love that exercise, and it's one of those things that, is really scalable. So that was not on my list, but I love it. I think that's a really really great option. I went a little bit different. So for it's kind of funny though, because I see how we're both kind of on like similar trains. So like your thought kind of went like functional, like what can I do, like where's my functional strength here? So you went kind of like landmine and barbell. I went with like a heavy kettlebell. And for me, I went with like a 45-pound kettlebell. For a lot of people, that's going to be sufficient. I think that it's one of those things, just having a heavy kettlebell around lends itself to so many things that the dumbbells just can't do, as far as the like swings go, and working on, if you want to work on things like a Turkish get up. You can still do carries with a dumbbell, but I think that the kettlebell can be such a good tool, just to like, change up the grip too. So, went with a kettlebell for what this one was, 45 pounds, cast iron, 53.18 on Amazon. Then I found a weighted jump rope for $7.99. I love jumping rope. I think that it is a huge, hugely underutilized cardio tool. I think it's great for warming up on lower body days, but I also think it's something that you can absolutely just use as like a focus for your workout. And then the last thing, this was, this was not so much as far as like gym equipment goes, but I was thinking about how, a lot of people are training in the garage or basement, and you've got those cement floors. So I budgeted $34.99. Oh, no, actually on sale for $27. Some of those like interlocking foam, like gym floor mats. Really not all that expensive, and they're really easy to clean. And they just, can make the gym a little bit more user friendly, because you can go down there in barefoot or just your socks and not have to worry about your cold toesies on the cement floor.
Yeah, I like the flooring. I have the flooring, and it's an important component to my home gym. Mm-hmm. I like that list. I thought long and hard about the kettlebell. It would certainly be, in the interest of scalability, something I'd be thinking about next as it relates to how I built mine. I do want to note, this was $993. If you have the space for it, you could consider a squat rack in addition to this. If you've got $1,500 to $2,000 to spend, Titan Fitness makes really good, really budget-friendly gym equipment, and the Titan T2 is what I have in my house. It's $375. So with my home gym, you've already got the barbell, you've already got 100 pounds in bumper plates. For, just a little bit more, you can buy some more bumper plates. And again, we're getting ourselves kind of in the ballpark of $1,500 to $2,000. But from there, you've got everything except for maybe machines and like cable machines.
Right.
So you can really do this fairly cost effectively. And again, we'll share these lists and give them to you, but look to the market, like look secondhand. There are so many options available on the secondhand market that can make this even less expensive.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is, because I know for a lot of people, they're talking to their radios right now. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like $1,000 is not user friendly for a lot of people. That is way more money than they're able to or willing to spend on gym equipment. The important thing right now, and what we want to make abundantly clear, is just start with something. Start with something, and that's why we wanted to make this kind of tiered approach, so you can see, like, you don't need this all at once. This doesn't all need to show up on your doorstep in the same day for you to have a successful training routine. Just start with the bare essentials, and then once you prove to yourself that this is a habit that I'm going to stick to, then you treat yourself with the other equipment, and you start to build from there. But a lot of people, yeah, I get it. You aren't going to have all this money to spend right away, but think about, do that audit. Do that audit on how much you're spending on a monthly basis, and see if there's a way that you can finagle some of that and work it in, because we are investing into more than just fitness equipment. This is your life. This is your health and wellness. This is your well-being that we're talking about here, and it is worth the investment. So yeah, I think that this is a really good place for people to start. But I had a lot of fun with this exercise. I think that if you ever have questions about equipment, if people have, send it our way. We'd be more than happy. Obviously we have the Worth It segment that we talk about, certain health and wellness products. But if you have something that you're curious about, you want us to talk about, or you want our opinion on, let us know. We'll either send it to you in a DM or email, or be happy to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but this really isn't an expense. It's an investment.
Totally.
Like, it can't be understated how good this will be for you in the long term to make this investment in your health and in your fitness. I can pay you back in years, literally. So
Yeah.
it's maybe not the best time to be saying, "Hey, dude, go spend $1,000 on your home gym,"
Right.
while we're dealing with inflation and tariffs and the whatnot. But I agree. Consider where you have some discretionary funding available and leverage it here. This is a great place to do that, and it doesn't have to be all at once. You can build on it. Start somewhere. Find yourself some equipment so that you can make training and fitness something that is accessible and something that you can build a consistent habit around.
And if you really, if you are wanting to show yourself that you can build the habit before you invest in any of this equipment, head on over to thebasictrainer.com, download our free 12-week strength training program, Basic Home. It's 12-week strength training program that uses only resistance bands. So the bands that I found are $30 or less. And so for $30 or less, you can get started with a comprehensive strength training program. And then you can start to work the numbers. And then by the time the 12 weeks is up, you can invest in some of the more expensive equipment that's going to take you to the next level. All right, let's get out of here, Dylan. We'll bring it home first with the Q&A. This one comes from a in-person client of mine. They said, "Guys, what's the deal with cable machines? You see, or not cable machines, I apologize. What's the deal with machines? You've got the biomechanics community saying that it is the ideal way to lift. You've got the functional fitness community saying that they are no good at all. What's the truth?" This is such a good question, Dylan, because it's exactly what we talked about at the top of the show. Where anytime that you're dealing with absolutes, that the truth falls somewhere in the middle. So, I'm sure we share a similar thought. What do you think about machines?
I think they're both right. Like they're really good for biomechanics and they're not so good for functional fitness. And so they have they have value. There's a role for them where they can be really beneficial. If your goal is functional fitness, you shouldn't be using fixed implement machines. If you really want to focus on your biomechanics and hypertrophy and building muscle, they're a really, really valuable tool. So I think it's just about how you consider them. Are they the ultimate best only thing you should ever be doing? Absolutely not. Should you consider using them for a phase or multiple phases or even a full program such that you can reap the benefits that come with using that sort of a tool? I think absolutely yes.
Yeah, and they are such a good tool when used properly. They help build base strength first and foremost. I mean, like if you are somebody that is new to training or somebody that's just looking for, maybe you're burnt out with your training, go mix in some machine leg press or the lat pull down or row or chest fly and just see, what happens when because the nice thing about these machines is you really just get it set up properly and then you grip it and rip it. You don't have to worry so much about stabilization and, like arcs of the, of the implement. The machine does the work. You just get it set up the way you want it and just work as hard as you can. So, I love it for that. I also think that it's a great tool when we're talking about hypertrophy. I think if you are somebody that wants to, really focus on building shapely muscles because of that ability to work so close to failure safely, they can be a really, really good tool. Now, like you said, is there going to be the same carryover to athletics and, to the real world as your functional fitness exercises? No, there's definitely some limitations there. So would it be something that I would only train with? Absolutely not. But the machine hate is stupid. And, you just got to figure out what works for you. I'll tell you, if you have not used machines, you are going to get a ton of benefit mixing them into your programming. If you are exclusively training with machines, you are going to get a ton of benefit by switching to dumbbells. So, use them both. Just find what works best for you and make sure you're switching it up.
Yeah, they're so accessible. Like they're not hard to learn. Learning curve is so low. And when it comes to hypertrophy, connecting to the target muscle is so critically important. And people will talk about like the mind muscle connection. And when you're doing, free weight exercises, you've got to be really intentional about that and learn how to do it appropriately to hit that target muscle effectively. This does the mind muscle connection for you. It takes all of that guesswork out of it because the machine is set up such that it's going to target the muscle that you're after. So tons of value from that regard. And yeah, I phase them in as frequently as I can. I don't have access to them in my home gym, but I'll sign up at the Y for a few months just to be able to use them because you can get great benefit from doing so.
This is a little bonus tip for anybody that does have access to machines. The abductor and adductor machines, I know that they get a bad rap as a chick exercise. If you are anybody that's just looking to shore up your legs, aesthetically and just like comprehensive strength, a lot of times when you see struggles in squats and hinges, lunges, those different types of movements, a lot of times it's not the quads, the hammies, or the glutes that are holding you back. It is those stabilizing muscles, those inner thighs and outer thighs that need strengthening. And it is tough unless you're doing heavy Cossack squats or lateral lunges or Copenhagen planks or, an exercise that directly targets those muscle groups. It's really hard to get direct abductor and adductor work. So I just hammered those machines. That's how I finish up my leg days. And I highly recommend even if you are not using machines regularly, to mix those into your programming because they can have a profound impact on, on your overall performance in the gym as well.
Not only performance, but aesthetic too. And
definitely.
And a nice booty's not just for the ladies.
That's right.
Guys can want that too. And that outer thigh is a big part of sculpting that glute. So yeah, dude, I don't use them a ton, but I agree.
All right, let's bring it home with the I Lift a Sad Song of the Week, brought to you by the I Lift a Sad Songs tank top, currently on sale. Not on sale like for a discount, still full price, but for sale at the Basic Trainer store at thebasictrainer.com. Dylan, it is my song this week. Have we had our one of our favorite bands, Blink-182, on the list?
It's been a while if we have.
I know that I put an iteration Boxcar Racer. I know I put a Boxcar Racer song on Volume 1, but we're gonna get Blink-182 some love here. It is from the album Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. It is Stay Together for the Kids.
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely love it. We need Geyer to play us this guitar lick.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.